So here we go in the second round. The Giants, after trading back a million times, have now decided to select Azeez Ojulari, who I like. I like Ojulari as a player. I think there's a lot of good here, and this is proper value in my opinion. I think getting him around here makes sense. Now, there is some concerns. The reality is there's kind of like a graveyard of second-round edge rusher guys who sort of rely on speed, and that ends up not working out too well. And I've said that I think that he relies on speed too much, and I've gotten some pushback. But I do still believe, I went back and watched some more tape to make sure that was the case. And most of his wins do come from speed, and we're going to get into that in a second, which is, it's just a big wild card. Sometimes it translates, sometimes it doesn't, so it's kind of a red flag. But if it does translate, they have a really good edge, and they could use an edge, in my opinion. So it makes sense, and to me, it's worth the risk at this point with the second-round pick, especially after trading back, so to have a bunch of other picks, and kind of maybe the mindset is, hey, we have all of this draft capital this year, and really next year is when to have most of it. So, you can take some boom or bust type picks, because if, one booms and one bust, well, guess what? You have a great player instead of two okay players. So that's kind of why I like it. But anyways, and there's a lot of really good too. He's not like some weird. Anyways, let's just get into the film study and talk about him as a player. So we'll start off with this play. There's a fun little arrow on the screen. It's also helping you point to where Ojulari is. That's just from the YouTube video that I got this clip from, because, there's no NFL Game Pass for college, even though there totally should be, because that would be awesome. But anyways, this is the play that I think this can sum up Ojulari in a lot of ways. And I do feel like one of the things I have to talk about with Ojulari is that a big part of what makes him successful is speed. Now, that might not always be a prototypical speed rush, but it tends to be something like that. It tends to be him using his speed to some degree, and it's a good thing and a bad thing. So watch how on this play you see that he's able to, use that speed, gets the right arm, good hand placement, and he's able to create some pressure. Didn't end up actually mattering too much, but I'd still say a good play by Ojulari to get there. Like this next play is another similar example. You might be saying, well, these plays are all great, Jackson. Why are you, what's your concern here? And again, it's hard to say like it's a massive concern necessarily, but I do have, I guess it is a little bit of a concern, but let me just explain why on this play where he is going to absolutely win his one-on-one matchup. Watch how he gets to the outside really quick, and, he uses his hands a little bit, but it's mostly just speed to get to the outside. That's how he's doing this. You look at the tackle, typically what do you do in this situation? If you've gotten beat by speed, what do you do? Well, typically what you're going to do is you're going to get your right arm, kind of get it on Azeez's sort of left side of his body. Try to get your left arm just anywhere you can, and just try to push him behind the quarterback, because you're not really going to be able to have enough success at this point. Just you've gotten beat by speed. So two things right off the bat. First thing is, in the NFL, this just isn't going to work in terms of you're not going to get this kind of speed past him. You know what I mean? If you beat someone, even the slowest tackles in the NFL, they're not going to get this far beat with speed, rarely, unless there's like unless really they get outsmarted or something. As long as, it's very rare that this will happen, if at all. Whereas in college, it's not really that rare at all that this kind of thing will happen. But the other factor that comes in is, even in this situation, typically most NFL tackles will at least be able to get their arms back and push a player past the quarterback, or at least attempt to do that. But this Cincinnati tackle, he's just not even going to be able to really put himself in position to attempt to do that. Watch how he never gets that right arm really planted, and that ends up being a forced fumble, which, yes, that was awesome. That was a great college football play. I just don't know how well that translates to the NFL. It could. That's the thing, too. I want to be very clear. Having speed does translate to the NFL to some degree. Like, there definitely have been guys who are primarily speed rush guys, and that translates to the NFL. But statistically, it's less likely to than if you're someone who, has more success with a bull rush or things of that nature. And I also want to talk about this play, because again, it's not just that he only relies on speed. He tends to, but part of that could just be that's what worked easier in college too. So it's like, that's a fair thing to bring up. And I don't hate him as a prospect or anything. I have him as a second round grade. I think that there's a lot of value here in someone like Ojulari. I really do. But on this play, he's going up one-on-one against the left tackle. The play's already started a little bit because, again, the clips I have to work with, not always the best. but watch what happens. He uses speed and is this time going to actually fall down, but he has the footwork to get back up. And not only does he make the sack, but he actually knocks the ball out. So he tends to knock the ball out a pretty decent amount, and he has good footwork as well on top of the speed. So again, there's a lot to like about him. There really is. I'm coming off as very negative just because he's the type of player that I typically don't go crazy about drafting, just because he does have things that scare me a little bit. But I still have him as a pretty high quality player, I would say. Like, I have him as a top 5 defensive edge rusher. So there is a lot of value here. I just think that there's also a little bit of concern just with his play style. And there's also something like this, where what you're going to see is that he's going up one-on-one against the left tackle. And the way he's going to do this is he's going to use his hands is going to be the key thing here. You want to, if you're a good speed rusher, if you can also knock away the outside arm, you're going to have a ton of success even at the NFL level. And watch how he does just swipe that outside arm away, and he is going to get this sack. This time doesn't knock the ball away, but, still a very good play. So, again, how does he get his wins? Yes, it's largely through speed, but he can also use his hands, use his footwork, and I think that that's really important. And so he's not just a straight-up speed guy, although I still do stand by. That is how he gets the majority of his wins, and that is the thing that got him the most amount of sacks in college compared to all the other qualities that are still pretty good. And then finally, a play like this is going to be a run play because, that's not necessarily the thing we talk about the most often when we talk about edge rushers, but it still is very important. And he can use his speed and footwork to have success in the running game, which does tend to translate a little bit better in the NFL than it does in the passing game. So going up one-on-one against the right tackle here, watch what he's going to do right at the line. As you see real quick, it's that initial footwork to get by him. So, good job of just sort of picking a decision, getting by 58 right there. Really smart play. But now, yes, okay, you got to this point, but you got to make the tackle too, and it's going to be a little bit tough. The back is further away, and he's probably going to have to make kind of a diving tackle to just try and get into the play. And that's what he's going to do. I mean, watch, he does make a diving play, and he's not actually the guy who makes the tackle, but he slows him down enough and kind of helps that play work. So great footwork, great speed, and he is a good tackler. There's a lot to like about him, as I said. Ojulari, definitely a player who I think is a very interesting prospect, in my opinion. And, yeah, I mean, obviously, I do still stand by his play style doesn't always tend to work, which is why I'm a bit lower on him than most. But at the same time, I'm not that much lower on him than most, and I certainly get it. So that's what I think about him. That's what I think about this selection. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts on this selection? Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.